Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. In today's episode, I wanted to talk to you about one thing that I wish I had a better understanding, a better grasp around the time that I was graduating high school, maybe even before graduating high school, but heading into college. So, when I originally went to college, I went to study computer science. At the time, I had absolutely no idea what computer science was, what it was about, but I knew it involved computers and I loved computers. I loved technology. And I was pretty much where I grew up. I was, the one who figured everything out for all my friends with technology, getting things set up on the computer. I was already swapping out, building computers, swapping out hard drives, updating memory, all that stuff, right? But so I thought, going to school for computer science, that would give that was just the natural progression. But when I got to college and took the first whatever courses that I had to take, and to add a caveat to that, when I was in high school, I did a dual enrollment program. So the last 2 years of high school, I was taking all of my prerequisites. Again, I had maybe 59, 60 credits by the time that I graduated from high school. So now going into college, I went for computer science. But the problem, and this is the part that I really wish I had understood and knew earlier and thought to do this, I had no idea what computer science was. And I never did any research about it. I just said, you know what, I'm taking computer science. When I get there and we'll figure it out from there, it's going to be easy because, I love computers, it's computers, it's computer science. So I get to school and all the classes that I'm taking are pretty much easy, basic, except for one. And that one class was the class that I had never had any exposure to, and that was C++. And I did so bad in that. I think I ended up with a D in that class, and I'm trying to follow along, but I had absolutely no exposure to coding languages at the time. Nothing. From everything that I did, it was using computers to word processing, writing essays in school, maybe some graphic type stuff, but absolutely nothing that had to do with programming. So now you get into this class, and there's a serious language barrier between the professor and the class, and so number one, and it's a huge class, maybe 100 students in the class, maybe more, and I have no idea what the professor is saying, and it's a lecture, and we get these homework assignments that, okay, go do this, go do that, variables and loops and all this type of stuff. I had absolutely no idea. I didn't even I would write some code, and I don't know if it's passing or failing. I had no idea what was going on. I don't even know how I got a D in that class, right? But it was a big hot mess, and including with that, there was somebody at the college that I went to that somebody that I knew as well. So we never lived in the same we didn't grow up in the same town, but we had a common relative. So we're both there in our first year and everything. So I was hanging out with him every now and then. But it was just and he was in that class too. He was studying computer science as well. And I don't know, I don't know what grade he got, but it didn't help at all. And trying to fit in a new place and new program and stuff like that. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I'm surprised I got a D in that class. It should have been a no score or F or something like that. But doing so poorly in that class really discouraged me from computer science because I didn't know what it was. I had absolutely no idea. And I think a lot of times we choose majors that it sounds good or it's something that is really a hobby of us. I think my problem was that it sounded good and that I'm like, oh yeah, computers. I love computers. Piece of cake, without actually doing any real research. So the biggest mistake that I made was not researching what I was getting into. And I think that is 99% of the problems that other people have as well. We don't research what we're getting into. So it sounds good. It sounds appealing. Okay, we're going to do it. It might be something that you're passionate about. And you're I'm going to get into it, but we don't know what you're getting into. And not knowing what you're getting into, not having a game plan is the worst mistake that I believe that we can make. So what I wish I would have done, because I had the internet, at the time, I wish I had did a simple Google search. What is computer science? I wish I had looked at the curriculum for the school that I went to see, okay, what is the curriculum for computer science? what classes am I going to have to take? And if that told me C++, I would have looked into what the hell is C++. I mean, yeah, it sounds like it's a coding language, but what is it about? I would have started trying to learn C++ if, like, going back in hindsight, hindsight is always 2020, but that's what I would have wanted to do now, so that before I even get there, I already have a good understanding of what I'm doing. I at least have the basics, the foundation, so that I'm not like totally lost trying to like take 4 classes and be like, because I say that learning how to code, learning how to program is learning a new language, and C++ is that. So that was I would say that was the biggest mistake that I made when I was getting into, like, when I was graduating high school. And I should have done that even before graduating high school, to be honest with you. And I think that one of the mistakes and disservices that we do to those coming up behind us is we let them do whatever makes them feel good instead of what's actually beneficial to them. Like I said, that was like, I wish that I could have had I wish I could have had some guidance or mentorship that would say, okay, you're getting into computer science. You should at least start learning some type of programming language. It doesn't have to be C++ in particular, but having the foundations of programming so that I could know, all right, what is a variable? What is a function? What is a method? What is a loop? What is an if statement? What is if else? All these little things, like, what is a switch? Those things, like, if I could have started looking into it instead of while I'm at school by myself, no restrictions, and then like, so you have so many other things that you can do and focus on, trying to make friends, trying to fit in. When you're supposed to be going to calculus class, you end up at the gym. 2 hours later, like, oh snap, I was supposed to go to calculus, but you're like, okay, well, I guess I might as well keep playing. So it's so many, like, so many bad decisions, and it's all from a lack of preparation. Failing to prepare, I would say, was the biggest mistake that I made, over 20 years ago. Because if I had clearly understood what was to come, I would have had a much better resolve, and I guarantee 100% that I would have been a lot further now. I might have been not that I don't like doing quality assurance. It's like, I love it, but I might have been a developer. I might have been who knows what, building more things instead of waiting till now to really getting onto the understanding and grasp. What I learned in the past 20 years, I think it would have been a lot more accelerated if I had properly prepared for what I was getting into. And I mean, I still think that I ended up in the, what word would I say, in the same field, same sector, but I think I could have got it there a lot earlier, and I could have been doing a lot more sooner, but that's one of the reasons that I say that coaching is so important. And the earlier that you can be exposed to coaching, the better off it's going to be for you, because a lot of times the coaches, they either have the data to help guide you in the right direction, or they've been in your position before and they can help you steer you in the right direction. Because if I had known someone who, like, and I'll tell you this, I'm trying to think, right? When I was growing up, did I know anybody who was programming? I knew some people who were doing some things with computers, but I'm trying to think if I had anyone, if I was exposed to anyone that was actually, writing, like, building programs, building websites, and I would say that I don't think so. Now, would I have been interested in doing that when I was growing up? It's hard to say, because I always had an interest in computers, but would peer pressure pull me away from that as well? So now, because I started working at a park when I was 15 and a half, right? Going on to 16. And I'm wondering now that if I could have, like, let's say Udemy existed around the time that I was in high school, would I have gone on Udemy and started taking classes there? I don't know, because I barely wanted to do work when I was in school. So it's hard to say. But where could I have gotten that good influence from to say, okay, hey, this is what, like, you like computers, This is what computer science is. And I'm sure that if I really wanted it, I could have found it out. Because even though there might have not been YouTube, there might not have been, chat, definitely not Chat GPT, all of those, but there was still the search engine. Yeah, I don't even remember if Google was out at the time, but I mean, I used to use the search engine Excite. I used to use Yahoo, and I mean, even when I got to college, I could have done more to understand C++ and whatever other languages that I was learning. But instead, I said, you know what, this doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not doing it anymore. And at the time, I quit computer science. But now I have a really good understanding and grasp of the computer science principles. But I think it came way much later than it could have been. I think that's a lot of mistake. That's a mistake that a lot of us make, is that we wait so long to get into the things that we should have got into a very long time ago. Now, after I was done, I went back to school and I studied network engineering, and then I started doing technical support, and then into the web design, and then into QA, and then the story goes from there. But that was so much additional steps and paths that I could have, if I had applied myself, Smokey, I would have been a lot better off. And my message to you is, it might be too late for you at this point to go, like, to tell your younger self what to do, but there are people coming up behind you. And even like if you're a parent and your child is 10, 11, 12, you don't want to miss the boat to start getting them interested in something of value, something that's going to help them out. Instead of like, don't put that mindset of like, oh, just do whatever makes you feel good, because your feelings will lead you astray. And it's going to be a failure. Sorry to say, it's going to be a failure. And then, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you're like, oh, now your child wants to go back and say, okay, well, I'm going to go do this boot camp. I'm going to go back to school. Why don't we just try to get it right the first time? I know people say, oh, you have so much time. You have so much time. But how about all the wasted time? Why can't we make the best use of our time now? And I think, now that I'm thinking about it, that might have been the biggest mistake. The biggest thing I wish I could take back was making the best use of my time at that time, not later. I'd go to a friend's house and sit there for 2-3 hours, not doing anything, maybe watching some nonsense on TV, maybe watching a sports game. And now it's like, okay, now you don't even talk to these people. If I think back, there is one person that I still speak to from 20 years ago. But yet we're so concerned about what, want to be liked, want to be cool. No, my message, like what I want to instill in my kid is, don't worry about being liked and everything like that. Focus on being successful. Focus on getting somewhere. Focus on building you up. Instead of wasting time looking for approval, looking to be liked, how can we make the best use of our time? And the best use of our time is, let's start chasing our goals now. The earlier, the better. Let's start chasing our goals. That's my thoughts about it. Let's understand the direction that we're going in. Let's start studying for that. Let's start preparing for that. Let's start building for that. And there's some things that they're not going to be optional, because we should have the skills. We should have the essential skills that is going to take care of us for a very, very long time. And then once we master those skills, we can start looking into everything else. What's fun, what's not fun, what's a hobby, what's not a hobby. But let's win first. I would rather win first and then think about what makes me feel good, instead of looking and searching for who knows how long and what makes me feel good. And our feelings change like the wind, like the weather. It's so flaky. Our feelings are like flaky tests. Sometimes they pass, sometimes they don't. Who knows? So I'm like, let's put our feelings aside. Let's put in front of us, what's going to take care of us, what's going to make us successful. And for me, that would have been if I had did the proper research to know what I was getting into, to be adequately prepared so that I could pass all my classes with flying colors. The way that and here's the problem, right? Because I told the story before of when I took my first college algebra test, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a piece of cake. I know math. I'm taking like pre-calculus and stuff like that in high school." And then I took my first test. I got a 48. Yes, a 48. I was like, "Whoa!" So from there, I studied because I knew what I was doing, just didn't properly apply myself. I did every single math problem. But the problem with that is so because I know what I was doing, but when you go into something that you don't know what you're doing, the learning curve is so much harder. It's like, watching somebody who is just learning like Python or JavaScript or something for the first time. It is very difficult because they're making all these type of mistakes. So now to put the pressure on, you have a bunch of other stuff that you're doing and you're in a learning environment and you're getting graded for it. There is no opportunity for you to slow down and really understand it, really hone it in. So that's why I think that with getting into this field, especially computer science, now they have these websites, roadmap.sh. I'm pretty sure that didn't exist when I was growing up, but that tells you the path that you need to go through and stuff like that. I wish that I wish I would have done some more research to see, okay, what did other people do? Because there's tons of people who was already in computer science. And I'm sure I would have found some documentation on what to expect, what to prepare for, what to start doing. But I had no idea. So my goal should have been to find out. Because I would research, I was on eBay at the time. I'm gonna date myself. I was on Black Planet trying to make friends. Then on MySpace. And even on MySpace, me and a friend of mine, we did some really cool MySpace page design with HTML and stuff like that. But imagine how much better it would have been if we were actually building real things out there instead of wasting our time with some nonsense artist trying to create a name for themselves and having a fancy MySpace page. That was a total waste of time. But imagine if I had took the time to understand variables, loops, if statements, switches, object-oriented programming. Imagine if I was listening to the likes of Robert C. Martin, Kent Beck, because around the time that I graduated, like a year before, not even that, 3 years before I graduated, that's when Kent Beck started talking about test-driven development. Agile started becoming more popular. So imagine if we were looking into those type of things instead of wasting our times on these social media sites. And now it's just taking over. But the same social media sites that have a bunch of nonsense that we get engulfed in, people arguing with one another, people talking about their feelings, people talking about sleeping in cars. Those same platforms also have the most informative information. Talking about how to learn how to program. You can get courses for cheap. And there's even games that help kids learn how to program as well. Was that there when I was growing up? I have no idea because I didn't check. My mistake was I did not check. My bad. But yeah, so that's my thoughts about it. I'll say that's the mistake that I made. I could have been much better prepared. I could have developed a winning strategy. But when you make mistakes, then you see it now. And now you can go back and say, okay, this is a blueprint. This is a strategy that can help you. And I'll tell you this, many people will reject it and they'll have to go through it the hard way. But those who are close to you, do your best as possible to help them see the way and the light so that they can be in the best position, because everyone around them, they're going to go in very different circular motions. And there are tons, if you want to be in the top runnings, put the people, or if you want your kids to be in the top runnings, because it might be too late for you, right? But if you want your kids to be in the top runnings, see what other people are studying. And see, okay, do the necessary research. Because while your kid might be studying, art and music and whatever, you have some other kids who are studying software engineering, computer science, cybersecurity at 19, 20, 21 years old, that they're coming out of school. They're doing their internships. They're coming out of school, and then they are going into these top jobs where they might not be making that much starting off, but give them 2, 3, 4 years. They're getting into mid-level, senior levels. They might be starting to develop their own applications, stuff like that. While your child can be working at some corner store or some fast food place, hoping that they can use their theater degree somehow. Is knowing about theater and art wrong? No, it's not wrong. But always ask yourself this question: is it going to get you to where you want to be? Can you go back for it later? Save yourself. See, me, like I said, if I had understood what I was getting into at the time, I would have been so much further. Who knows? The sky's the limit. And the sky's the limit for a lot of people, a lot of you, your kids, whoever. The sky's the limit. But are you going to get in front of the opportunity you have to reach the sky? I say, don't be a blocker to yourself. Don't be a blocker to yourself. Do the necessary research. Focus, study, be prepared for whatever it is that you're getting into. Don't wait. Don't wait. My mistake was I waited. I didn't understand and I waited. And now I'm good now, but it could have been a lot faster. Could have been a lot better. Could have been a lot more awesome. All right. So anyways, that is my thoughts for today. That's my kind of conversation. Let me know what you think. Hopefully that you found this helpful. If you did, do me a big favor, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can know every single time that we go live or drop new content. And if you are in need of coaching, if you need to level up, go over to www.techcoachralph.dev where you can sign up for exclusive content as well as a one-on-one coaching plan with me. But until next time, this is Tech Coach Ralph with another episode of Candid Conversations, and we are out.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.